Hi there, and welcome back to Geneva Blue Studio. The studio. Anyway, Geneva Blue, which is not based in Geneva, but in Perth. For those who didn't know, it's I don't know if you can hear any different now. I've changed my recording area, or come out to a studio at the back of the house. Hence, studio, Geneva Blue Studio. I've just started using this new mic I use for the podcast, so I'm not sure how the sound quality will be with this. I hope it's going to be a little bit better. If not, too bad, let me know in the comments. Today I just wanted to go through a few more of those watch company pronunciations we've been going through. It's really an excuse to talk about a few different watch brands, really. Nothing really much else. I was on a podcast. Did a podcast which has just gone live, Fifthwristradio, which is where I talk about this watch. I do a quick wrist check, and this is the same watch I mentioned. It's a Leica from the brand of Leica that I bought in for a company I used to work for here in Perth. We had them for a little while. It's a Leica Valencia 42, I think. It's a watch which is just, I had this sitting on the windowsill, but then it's got all in the sun, but it's gone all overcast, and it's so yeah, it's a watch which looms up really well and stays loomed for a while. Basic watch. I think I mentioned on the podcast it's an ETA movement, which it's not. This is I think it's a Myoto movement in this one. They used to be ETA. Anyway, it's a cool watch. It's a good little beater, basically. Bit of a different style with those old German hands, and the loom dial. I kind of like it. I've got one of my own wrist straps on there, one of my Horween leather straps, which are doing the job admirably, I must say. Okay, so we're up to the O's, and I'm going to start with Omega. We usually call it Omega. You hear a lot, but we've started in French, it's Omega. I mentioned on the podcast that the French alphabet, before you learn French or the pronunciation of French names, you need to learn the alphabet. Well, you know the alphabet, but how they say the alphabet, which is quite different to in English. And the sound of that letter in the alphabet, as they say it in the alphabet, is the sound that it has in a word, unless it has an accent, or else it's or specific some arrangements in words. Sometimes will make the letter sound a bit different. That's what it's like with Omega, basically. Or the French would say Omega, and when you go through the alphabet to O, they don't say O, they say O, and A, B, C. It's not A, B, C, it's A, B, C, and the E, Omega. Anyway, you know about Omega, I'm not going to talk about that. Orfina, it's a 1922 company, which is mostly known for their Porsche design watches back in the day, for a little period there. They did the Porsche design watches. Then I got Oris. The French sort of roll their R's a bit. They wouldn't say Oris. But that's from Holstein, 1904 company, up quite close to Basel, actually, just south of Basel in Switzerland. Pretty old company. And then I've got, that's it really for the O's, actually. And then I've got the P's. I slipped in a little P there, which is not on the list I printed off, but it's Peterman Beda, two guys who are ex-Patek watchmakers who have started their own little brand called Peterman Beda. I've been talking to them a few times. I'd like to get them out here, but they are not. They're kind of expensive watches. I think they're starting around 50 or 60,000 Swiss francs. So they're not cheap, but they're brilliantly made watches. That's a pair of young watchmakers to look out for. Peterman and Beda is their surnames. They're based in just out on the edge of Lausanne, where I used to live in Switzerland. And then I've got Parmigiani Fleurier. Fleurier is the town that they're in, and the part of the brand it's the town. Parmigiani is Michael Parmigiani, the bloke who started the brand. And that's where the town where there's a Porsche manufacturer, the guys that do the movements for Richard Mille, Chanel, a whole bunch of brands. Chopard, I think they do some. The Chopard is there as well. That's in Fleurier. Beauvais, the brand Beauvais, they're based up there, and Kari Voutilainen. I've been to Kari's workshop a couple of times. It's a beautiful spot, big old house in Fleurier, big old European house. Anyway, that's Parmigiani. Then we have Panerai, Officina. That's actually an Italian word, so I don't know how they say that. Panerai, Officina. Officina just means workshop. Doesn't mean office or anything. It just means it's Italian for workshop. Officina. They're 1860 in Florence. Now made in Neuchâtel, part of the Richemont Group. Not much more to say about them. Then I got Patek Philippe. And that's how they'd say that in the factory in Geneva. Patek Philippe. Not much to say about that. Everyone knows about them. Piaget, which is an awesome brand up in the Jura Mountains, La Côte-aux-Fers, little tiny town. Not far from Fleurier, in fact. They have obviously a big factory now in Plan-les-Ouates in Geneva as well, on the edge of Geneva. But they're really well known for the 900p and the 910p. They're extra flat watches, manual to start with, and then automatic. Beautiful watches, and they do a lot of nice stuff. Piaget. You didn't say the T at the end of Piaget. It's not Piaget. After that, I've got Pilot & Co., which I've added on the list as well. It's a friend of mine, Amarildo Pilot. He's half Italian, half Eastern European, something. Amarildo. He does some pretty cool stuff. A bit quirky, some of it. He has a model which works really well called His and Hers, or the Duo Time, or something or other. Twin Time. Doppio. That's Italian for double. That's what he calls it, actually. And he's ex-distributor for a lot of different brands, and he started his own brand and doing quite well, especially in Asia. That's Pilot & Co. And then that's it for the P's. And then I've got the Q's. There's nothing on there. And I put Quinting on there. They launched back in the mid-90s. They did a chronograph in the year 2000. Quinting. It was known for the sapphire dials, basically. It was a chronograph you could see straight through. If you look it up on the net, you'll just look for Quinting chrono. And I was really impressed with them before I actually got into watch it. I found them in a shop in Geneva once, and they're really cool. They're really pretty expensive, but basically it's the same principle as the old Mystérieuse watches. They're done by the brands back in the day, with just like plates of sapphire, and all of the counters and everything had separate little sapphire plates, and you could I think it was 8 layers of sapphire crystal, and you could see straight through the movement. All the movement was in the outside of the case, and then they had this sapphire dial and sapphire sub counters, and you couldn't, there's no obvious attachment. That was the Quintings. Don't know if they still exist. I haven't heard much about them recently. That's the Q's. The R's, we start with Rado, which is a 1917 brand from Langnau, and they do half a million watches a year. They're part of the Swatch Group. Now most of them are sold in Southeast Asia and Asia. In India, they're a massive market. So Rado, we see them here, but they'd call it Rado. Again, it's that rolling R for the French. Raymond Weil, 1976. Raymond Weil started his own brand. Mr. Weil died in 2012. I think his grandson, runs that company now. Raymond Weil. That's pretty much the German name, the Weil. Raymond Weil. Ressence, which I have on my list. That's a brand launched in 2010 by Benoit Mintien. I'm not sure the surname. Benoit in Antwerp in Belgium. Really, really cool watches. Ressence is a combination of the word Renaissance and Essence. They're doing good stuff. I know Benoit is a nice guy. Then I have Richard Mille. I've talked about that before. I think actually was at the start of the list. We'll skip over that. And Roma, in 1888. It's a big watch. I've got one of a big brand back in the day. I have one of those called La Grande. Brand from Solothurn. If you go past it on the train from Geneva to Basel, for example, you'll go past the Roma factory. that used to be massive. They used to make 1 million watches a year, and they had 1,200 people working for them. Now it's much smaller, but they're still doing some nice entry level, but really good quality, good value for money watches, basically. Homer. Then I've got next page. We've got Rodania. It's 1930. That's a Belgian group now, Belgian company now. They do mostly quartz watches. It's not that interesting, but Rodania. Rudi Silva. That's a really cool brand. It's managed by a friend of mine as a CEO, Jackie Epito. Jackie, he works for them. They are known for doing a harmonious oscillator watch, which is a watch with two toothed balance wheels, and the whole thing turns out to be a brilliant watch. They don't do very many of them, and they're relatively expensive, but they're really, really nice stuff. Rudis Silva. That's RUDIS SYLVA. Rudis Silva. It's an old brand. They've been around for hundreds of years, but I mean they've sort of come back recently. And then I've got Romain Gauthier. Oh no, sorry, Rolex. The old guy in Mr. Wilsdorf in England, when he launched that brand, I think he wanted it to be easily pronounceable in any language, which it is. Rolex, everyone knows about Rolex. But in the French part, or in Geneva, where they're made, the guys that work there, they call it Rolex. They just roll the R a bit, basically. Ancient company. Well, no, not ancient, but everyone knows the history about Rolex. 1905, they started trading as Rolex in 1915. It was one of their models to start with. And then I've got Romain Gauthier. Brilliant guy, really nice guy, Romain. ROMAIN, Romain Gauthier, in the Vallée du Joux. 2005 he started that. Romain's is a precision mechanic. He's not a watchmaker at la base, they say in French, or at the start he wasn't a watchmaker, he was a precision mechanic. He managed workshops full of machines, or really precision lathes, etc. And they did a lot of for a company who did a lot of subcontracting work for watch brands. So he knows his way around a machine and how to program a machine. And now he's got his own brand, Romain Gauthier. And I've said before that his watches, you can tell by looking at his watches, they're a bit different to a standard Swiss watch or watchmaker watch. That's because he's not a watchmaker. He comes to things from a different angle, basically. But still an excellent brand, beautiful watches. He has some awesome watchmakers working for him, and he's just an all-round nice guy, Romain. Catch up with a bit at Basel and those shows. Not this year. Then I got Romain Jérôme, which is a different story. It's they called themselves RJ, I think, last year, and then they went bust, basically. They were never really my thing. They had a couple of cool models, Romain Jérôme, but yeah, not really my thing. I've also got in there Rodolphe, who was a Rodolphe Catin. I don't know if the brand even exists anymore. They were around in Neuchâtel for a while. An ego-driven guy who started his own brand after designing watches for a bunch of watch group brands back in the day. Then anyway, that's Rodolphe, the brand Rodolphe, RODOLPHE. And then I've got Rotary watches, Rotary. The Chaux de Fonds, they started in 1895. Now they've gone to the UK. They're basically a British brand, but they're still made in Switzerland now. They're not a bad brand. Then I've got Daniel Roth, you'd call it in English, Roth. Daniel Roth, owned by Bulgari. I've met him a few times, Mr. Roth. He's gone and done his own thing now, and he's doing watches. I think he's still alive. He's an older guy, but doing watches under the name of his son, Jean-Daniel Nicholas. Daniel Roth. They're a very recognizable watch once you see them. If you're basically a tonneau, a barrel-shaped watch. Beautiful watchmaking. And that's it for the R's. I don't think I'll do any more. I'll do the S's next time. What else do I want to talk about? I've gone for 15 minutes. That's probably enough. Go and check out the podcast on fifthwristradio.com. Look for the segments which are called Rob and the Regulator. I do that with a guy called the Watch Regulator in Melbourne. Talk about all sorts of stuff. It's not very serious. We don't take ourselves very seriously. And tell me what do you want to hear about on these YouTube videos, because I'm soon going to run out of material here. I'm running out of my list. I'm getting towards the end of my list. I'll probably scratch around and find a few more that aren't on the list, a few different names. I don't want to really take up too much more time. We've started a little series going through my watch drawers, and I won't talk too much about that, but I'll give you a bit of a glance at what we're talking about. This is the drawers. Oh, here we go. Here, which is basically my layette, as they call it in Switzerland, your watchmaking drawers, where your tools go. So we're covering a bit of that in that podcast. So go and check it out. Okay, that's it. I'm off.